Imagine the Sahara Desert. You're probably picturing an arid landscape covered in sand dunes. There's almost no water. Out in the distance, there might be a few camels walking in the hot sun. It's not the most hospitable place. But ancient artists in northern Africa once saw a very different Sahara. Like many artists, they just painted what they saw around them. And instead of what you just imagined, the scenery that they recreated on rocks starting at least 12,000 years ago was dramatically different. They made pictures of hippos and giraffes and other savanna species that need to live near water. There are even images of livestock and grazing animals like cattle and sheep. While you might see these mammals in southern or central Africa today, you'd never find them in the modern Sahara. But this rock art is everywhere, from the Western Sahara to Saudi Arabia. And it's also incredibly accurate, which means the artists were really familiar with the animals that they were depicting. For the artists to be that knowledgeable about hippos and giraffes, those animals had to have lived there. So all of this means that the climate of the Sahara must have been completely different thousands of years ago. And I'm not talking about just a few years of extra rain. I'm talking about a climate that was so wet for so long that animals and humans alike made themselves at home in the middle of the Sahara. Geologists would find the first clues, not in the Sahara, but at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Archaeologists would uncover seemingly unlikely evidence of vibrant societies in what's now the desert. And paleoclimatologists would be able to trace all of these bizarre events back to changes in the movement of our planet. All of these lines of evidence would come together to tell the story of when the Sahara was green. In the mid-1800s, a German explorer crossing the Sahara encountered the paintings and engravings left behind by those early Holocene artists, and he puzzled over the mismatch between the scenes depicted in the rock art and the desert around it. Since then, modern geologists have been able to use many lines of evidence to confirm what the rock artists saw. Northern Africa was once much wetter, starting somewhere between 15,000 and 11,000 years ago and ending 5,000 years ago. Geologists call this span of time the African Humid Period, but it's also known as the Green Sahara. And one of the best pieces of evidence for a Green Sahara comes from nearby deep-sea sediment found off the coast of Mauritania. Geologists have sampled cores of underwater sand and mud to study what's known as Saharan dust flux, the amount of sediment that was blown off the African continent and into the ocean. When there was more dust coming off the Sahara, geologists know that it was drier, with very little vegetation.